after 5:30, so it doesn't matter. Clerk, are you ready?
You guys gave me a whole list in the last
You
one.
ready?
I hope you don't give me another one.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Good evening, I'm Eula Clark, Mayor of the City of Stuart. This is a regular meeting of the Stuart City Commission, March 22nd. We are scheduled to start at 5:30 PM. We're a little bit after. And we're here at 121 Southwest Flagler Avenue for our Stuart City Commission meeting. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Clark,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Here.
Commissioner Bruner. Here. Commissioner McDonald,
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
As we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by our Vice Mayor, I just want us to think of all those who are striving hard to make our country, our state, and our community a better place. And I want us to just take a moment to think of the passing of our postman, Calvin Berry, whose zone was this area of the city of Stuart. Let's take a moment before our Vice Mayor gives a Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today, we start with a presentation by the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council regarding design and considerations for US 1 between Canner Highway and Palm City Road. Who's here from the Regional Planning Council, or is that?
We've got,
Kevin has got, staff will introduce this item.
thank you, Mayor. Kevin Freeman, Development Department. We've got Tom Lanahan, the Executive Director of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and Jessica Seymour, one of their senior planners over there, designer, architect, whatever she can do there. This is probably going to be very brief. We heard from the Commission at the March 8 meeting that they wanted a bit of an update on what was going on US 1. We know that within the FDOT work program for 2024, there is a engineering design in the 5-year work program, which is specifies an area, an intersection from US 1 south, the right turn lane onto Canner. That's going to be an investigation of the design of that and the right-of-way required to do that. That's going to start in 2024, so that's going to likely go on for 3 or 4 years after that is completed, before that's actually in place. At the same time, and commissioners who attended the workshop, roaming workshop on Saturday, experienced part of what's going on with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council now, where we're looking at the US 1 corridor and the triangle, and part of that is the Department of Economic Opportunity grant that we secured to do that, and Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council are doing a great job in organizing that. I don't know if Jessica or Tom have any more information than that. We were going to investigate the hot turn, that we call the US 1 onto Palm City Road. But at this time, we don't have any design options for that. There's a lot of investigative work that would need to be done for that, in terms of what constraints exist at that intersection, and also, how would that be designed to operate in a functional way? Again, I don't know if the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council have anything more to say about that.
Hi, good evening. Tom Lanahan, Executive Director, Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. Nice to see you all again. First off, thank you so much for your gracious resolution in support of regional planning councils and opposition to Senate Bill 62, which is currently just sort of sleeping off to the side, and we're just going to let it continue to sleep off to the side, and hopefully nothing comes of that. But thank you for that, and thanks for inviting us to be here. Kev did a great job of saying, I think, almost everything that we would intend to say. But you've got a couple of different moving pieces there along US 1. You have what's called the Triple R project, which comes with a certain scope of work, typically doesn't get into things like adding or removing turn lanes and things like that. It's very focused on the pavement condition, and sometimes you can leverage that into some other improvements, maybe some sidewalk fix-ups, those kinds of things. There are some issues along US 1. If you've been on the walking tour the other day or rode your bike down it like I did on a piece of it, there's some issues there. So you have that, and you have the now DOT plan project inside the red circle there. And interrelated to that is actually the situation with Palm City Road, which you know, is a little confusing from a driver's standpoint, because the geometry tells you that you want to get off US 1 quickly, and you want to go straight, and you want to go fast. And the rumble stripes and the speed tables and the neighborhood conditions and the safety tells you want to slow down. So you've got conflicting messages, which is why we probably have to, you know, keep, like I say, clicking up the pain knob on the driver to get the message across. You probably should slow down, because they're set up coming in off US 1 of, hey, this is a quick way to get around. So that actually interrelates, I think, to the turn lane work at Canner, because if we can make that a more efficient movement for the driver, it will disincentivize taking Palm City Road as a, you know, shortcut or quick way to get through or whatever. But that's kind of what we have, and Jessica is our project manager for the US 1 and Triangle studies, which are technically two separate things but very closely related. Did I miss anything? Stay involved. If you didn't come to the walkabout, please. And have we done the interviews with everybody yet? Yes. Okay. Well, there you go. So hopefully, if something came to mind after the interview, it's not your one opportunity. Please give us a call and let us engage with whatever input you might have. And I guess I can try and answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. McDonald?
Actually, so not really so much a question, I guess maybe a little bit. First of all, I really enjoyed our conversation during the interview process. I thought it was very productive, and unfortunately, I had a scheduling conflict with I think it was a BDB meeting with the morning of the walking tour. The hot right, as we talk about that hot right, you're right. There is a conflicting message. There's go as fast as you can on this turn, where basically it isn't even a turn. It's almost a straight through, and then like you said, you start getting into those rumble strips. But I think it's, as we're looking at how we redevelop this area, important part of that is the safety of the traffic safety in especially in that section between Canner Highway and I'll even go as far as West Ocean or even Joan Jefferson. There has been several over the years. There's been a couple fatal pedestrian accidents. I think one fatal motorcycle accident, a bicycle accident that was fatal. I am pleasantly amazed that no pedestrian has been killed on that hot right there in that crossing there, because it is so dangerous. And I was actually a witness to a traffic accident where someone almost hit me while running, and to avoid hitting me, they ended up getting broadsided so just craziness.
At least they didn't hit you.
Yeah, I know.
made a good
I was
choice.
jumping out of the
Property
way.
to replace.
I was jumping out of the way of the car that almost hit me as it was getting hit in the passenger door and fender. So it was very close. But anyways, so I think that if we want this to develop and develop as, you know, and we keep talking about walkability and in pedestrian bicycle friendly community, I would almost venture to say, short of trying to get across on Canner Highway, crossing I-95, where I-95 is, there's no place more dangerous for pedestrians than this little section right there. And this is probably more dangerous. So anything that we can take into consideration would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners on this presentation? Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lanahan, you brought up the Triple R project, and I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Commissioner McDonald, but I think the idea was that are there any key takeaways or ideas that we can get right now as MPO, as we're working through this Triple R project?
Right.
So I am interested in what we could possibly do along the sidewalk and or a buffered bike lane, multi-use path.
Well, let me, if I could, Madam Mayor, if I could talk about the sidewalk realm, and then I'll let Jesse take on the bike lane issue, because that's harder. So along the sidewalk realm, you've got a couple of things going on along the road there. You have abandoned driveway connections, which is where the sidewalk is going to slope down to the pavement. It compromises the pedestrian use of the sidewalk. Anybody with mobility issues, or if you're on a bike or whatever you're doing, it sends you down into the street. You should, as a city, try to get DOT to put that into the scope of work, addressing those abandoned driveway connections. The other, another thing to do would be to try and get them to address the condition of the sidewalk. There are some pretty significant broken pieces of it, disjointed, not level, those sorts of things. At some point in time, it looks like there was an effort at beautification to concrete the what would have been a grass utility strip along there with like
Stamped
concrete,
concrete.
paper bricky kind of stuff. I don't know that it has a lot of aesthetic benefit for you anymore. And given how narrow the sidewalk is, that foot or two of concrete is precious. That's a walking surface, and so that that could be better. And then the last thing is, and this may be a reach on a Triple R, but the streetlight pole placement out there is poor.
Poor is an understatement.
It's almost like, hey, let's find the sweet spot for where the pedestrian would be, and let's put the pole right there. It's like perfectly located in the wrong spot. Now, what you have going for you is that those are not the FPL-owned power poles. Those have a whole extra many layers of complexity. So those look like they're just the streetlight poles. So I think those are probably owned by DOT, and they should be relocatable inside the right-of-way. Even just moving them to the edge of the sidewalk would gain you so much from a pedestrian safety standpoint. It might be worth a try on that one. I don't know. You'd have to see. But I think if they haven't had it yet, the field scoping meeting, you want to get them out there and try and do the where you're going to meet spot somewhere that's got some of these problems, and then everybody gets out of the car and you walk around, and I bet if you put a tape measure to it, that piece of sidewalk might not meet ADA, or it certainly barely meets it. So that may be some, you may have some leverage there. So that's kind of my observations in the sidewalk realm. And do you have anything you want to add on the bike park?
Just to add a few things, we have been in contact with the project manager for the US 1 project, the resurfacing. That kickoff was on February 4th, so they are in the process of designing. It was done virtually, so they are going to be doing some in-the-field surveying, and I actually requested to find out when that was. I'd be happy to assist them if they want to see some of these challenges that are out there. And we've been in contact with sending some images and some documentation of those conditions. And then I would also say in regards to the improvements as well, improving the quality of the lighting is actually something that we heard in our outreach, is another quality that could be part of the resurfacing. The photometrics was not part of their original scope, but there was interest when that was brought up at the scoping meeting of trying to see a way of improving that. So if that's echoed again, I think that will help to give it some legs. And if we can help in any way with that as well. The other thing I wanted to mention was with the turn lane planned for in 2024, just that if you're adding that another lane, so there's already 7 lanes there, you're going to make that 8 if this project goes forward. So it's really important then to look at acquiring enough right-of-way that we then offset those pedestrian environment challenges with
Recording in progress.
appropriate
Being recorded.
Watch out, Jesse. They're listening.
with an appropriate pedestrian median, and then the landscaping and all that character that could be added to those corners, because these intersections are what most people think of. I'm in Stuart. The city, of course, extends much further than this, but many people, when they arrive to that intersection, that's when they say, okay, I'm in Stuart. So that's your, Colorado was the front door, and now the front door is moving that back out. So it's just some food for thought. And then also just to keep you in mind that the US 1 study will be coming back with a draft in April. So we'll keep contact with staff about when we'll be presenting some of the report to you. I don't think I have anything else.
All right, thanks. Any other questions for the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council on this presentation?
So, Madam Mayor, if I have 2 points. One, Commissioner McDonald, I do agree with you that the hot right is something that needs to be addressed, and I understand it may not be a hot topic on what the MPO is doing and what this study will pertain to, but maybe it's something we as a city commission can bring up or bring up on the MPO and urge the MPO to put it on one of their priorities lists now that we have, a date for Canner Highway turning lane. And then just to confirm, because this has been one thing I've been working on Martin Luther King, but with power poles that are owned by FP&L. So would the FDOT own the poles going down Canner Highway as well, or just typically right on US 1, or?
Canner, so there's 2 RRR projects, as you're aware, and they're on different schedules. So we've been more closely
With the US 1.
conversation with the US 1, the polls. Yes, Canner's a RRR as well. That one's, I think, ahead of it another year or maybe a year and a half. I think they're going to start in spring 2022 with the construction, I think was correct. Not at that point. Yeah.
Okay. It's going to, the streetlight pole ownership is going to be driven off of who is the owner of the road.
Okay.
And so if it's a state facility, then they are likely state poles. Sometimes you have local poles on a state road, but, and then you also get cases where it's a pole, it may be a power pole that has streetlights on it.
Right.
In that case, then it's owned by the power company, or in rare cases, a utility, like the phone company owns it, but you go down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
With those, but so that,
Okay.
to try and answer that,
But
not knowing the specifics.
It's worth trying to push for them, possibly, certainly on US 1 and possibly on Canner. Perfect, thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I think that is, it's interesting, I did not realize the ownership of the poles on the sidewalks, that was FDOT there on US 1. So that's a very useful piece of information. Generally, most of the Florida Power Light or other utility poles that I've seen aren't in the middle of the sidewalks. I don't think we've ever, but DOT certainly has gotten away with that. And I was actually planning on bringing this up under my commission comments, and I will, so I'll save most of it for then. But that is, with that poles being owned by the FDOT, that makes it much easier to get it into the MPO for an MPO project, so.
All right, thank you. I'm sure that we all have other comments, but I intend to bring up some in the commissioner comments also.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
Thanks for the
much. Thank you.
opportunity to address you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, staff. Our comments by our city commissioners. Commissioner Bruner,
No, I'll pass.
okay. Commissioner McDonald,
Yeah, two things. First, since we're just kind of finished talking about this, I was actually planning on bringing up the MPOs and MPO priority list, and I think that, and maybe we need to have an item at a future meeting, or if there's consensus from the commission, me and Commissioner Matheson can bring these forward at the next MPO meeting. I think that in light of the learning that the power poles are, or not the power poles, the light poles are FDOT, that is something that I think that we could probably get into a priority list fairly easy to move work on getting the power poles moved, or the light poles, got to say the right kind of pole, the light poles moved and relocated. And then I also think that we should work on asking the MPO to put the entrance to Palm City Road, the hot right, into the priority list, so that we can get it in the priority list, because if we get it in the priority list now, it may be 4 to 5 years. It'll take 4 to 5 years just to get design funded. So the process is a long, arduous, tedious process that you have to be patient with, but it does work. And so with the consensus of the commission, me and Commissioner Matheson can bring that forward, or if you want to have a agenda item for us to have approval on that at a future date, we can do that, whatever the favor of the commission is.
If you don't mind, my thoughts are, and it would again depend on the consensus of the commission, but we're representing the city. We might be more successful, with full representation from the city.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm good either way. I think that if the two MPO, if we're there, we're representing the city with the backing of the city commission, we're doing that. But I'm happy to have an agenda item to bring forward, to have a resolution that we ask the MPO at the next meeting if the consensus with the commission is to do that.
are you
Everybody
making that now?
You want a motion?
You want a motion for that?
I don't think you need a follow-up action item for it. If you wanted to make a motion right now to have
Yeah,
it in.
okay, that we put it on the priority list?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion right now that we put relocating the streetlights and redesign of the hot right on Palm City Road, that motion for a resolution that we ask the MPO to put that onto the priority list.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner McDonald, seconded by Commissioner
Meyer.
Meyer. Are you clear about that, clerk?
Yes, I am.
Okay, any other discussion by us on this? We have made a motion and a second. Any comments from the public on this motion? Clerk, could you call the roll?
I can. Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Commissioner McDonald, you finished with your comments?
No, I'm not quite. I got just one other quick thing. Commissioner Meyer brought it up during the CRA meeting, HB 55 and Senate Bill 284, that affects the design standards. And thankfully, at this point in time, it does not say CRAs, and it does not say historic districts. But it is, I see two things that are concerning about this bill, and one is that, it's, and probably most importantly, it's an attack on home rule. And it's also the old slippery slope argument that this year they exempt CRAs, and they go, oh, next year, they come back in and they say, oh, we're going to take CRAs out of it. And then the year after that, they come back in and they take away historic districts. And so but I think that, again, probably the primary reason why it's an issue is the attack on home rule, which continues. And do we think we should do a resolution opposing this on the grounds of home rule? Does anybody feel that way? I'd love to hear your comment, because I know you're our kind of our legislative representative on the region.
Well, I really appreciate the support on fighting, preemption bills. Home rule is always under attack, and this year it's more than ever. I've spoken to Representative Oberdorf a number of times about this bill. He's filed it a couple years now. It's a priority for the legislature, for the leadership. I think I've made my opinions about it clear with him. I think we can write that resolution. And so far in my discussions with him, and especially around other things like short-term rentals, which have been gaining steam as well, the short-term rental preemption bill, which has been sailing, well, I guess it didn't make it to committee today, but essentially, Representative Oberdorf is a firm believer and always sticks to the property rights argument. And he'll also say, well, do you have any short-term rental preemption bills? Do you have any design standards that are threatened by this? And it's kind of hard to say. We currently do have some in the Potsdam neighborhood, but it's not.
Our side-facing garages throughout the whole city would be impacted by it.
Side-facing garages. And, but yeah, so that's throughout the entire city. So even with the exceptions for CRAs and historic districts, I think we should be standing up for home rule.
Then I'm going to make a motion that we pass a resolution opposing HB 55 and Senate Bill 284, but I think it may have already passed, the Senate bill.
Let me just double check that it's HB 55. Are you 100%?
I am certain it's HB 55. I'm not
Yes.
certain on the Senate
Right
bill.
now,
Yeah.
Senate Bill 284.
Just want to make sure if you're doing the bill number, just in case, and then the Senate bill is 285?
284.
284. Second.
There's a motion
Can
and a
I
second.
just
I-
clarify, can I just get a real quick
Yes, Amanda.
clarification? Are you asking for, this is the passing of that resolution, then we write it and have the mayor sign it? Or are you asking us to
Yes.
bring one back?
No, passing it as a resolution now, because time is of the essence because of the speed of the legislature, I guess.
And it'll be two separate resolutions and to send in for the two separate items.
No,
Or don't
one
bother with
resolution.
One
SB.
resolution.
It could cover both the House
Yeah.
and Senate bill.
Yeah. Did you say that SB 284 had,
SB 284 and HB 55.
all right.
Thousand Friends of Florida has a good article on this bill.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Is there any comment from the public on this motion? Do we need the clerk, or are we just all in favor?
We can do it all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner McDonald, are you finished?
I am. That's all I have today.
Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I asked for a few things at our CRA meeting. I saw our city manager writing a list down, so the thing, I won't rehash those, but another thing I've been thinking a lot about lately with regard to, recent development applications and some voices from within and around the community being anxious about new projects and the growth, was that I think we don't have the opportunity really to, when we're up here, it's tense. People are upset about projects, and it's hard for us to have a real quality back and forth. So you try to get some information out there on social media and talking to the neighbors when you're walking and biking around town. But I think it would be really important for us, not only in public communication, to help put the community's minds at ease about the growth in Stuart, but also I think a good planning process for us, for our city, to put together, and I understand staff is working on a housing and development presentation for an upcoming meeting. I really would like to see, even if it is as simple as like a first stab at a map of the city and where we are open to and interested in and encouraging of more density, right? Where with a PUD, we might be allowable 15 units by right, up to 30 units in certain instances. Even if it were just simple and color-coded along major rights of way, attached to transit opportunities that help take cars off the road. There are areas where denser projects are favored, and importantly, areas where they're not. I think that would really help the community understand that we're not ever going to consider in the middle of, right smack in the middle of a single-family neighborhood, that we're going to stick a four-story, not we, but that we would approve a developer sticking a four-story building in place.
I think what you're really talking about here, Kevin Freeman, Development Director, what you're really talking about here is how the future land use operates in the city. And that in itself controls density to quite a large extent, even when it comes down to PUDs. There's quite a differential between what you can do in a office, residential, or a multifamily future land use than what you can do in a low density future land use. So we do already have that, and maybe it's a better representation of how that looks. Because that, when you look at the map of the city's future land use, that does follow, major arterials, and then it does weave itself back into neighborhoods with a lower density. So I think it would be good, both from a policy side and also a staff side, to say, is this how it's, do you see this working the way it's set out? Are there amendments that are needed to secure the areas that you feel need to be more protected? And I think staff can do, I agree with you, staff can do a better job of explaining how those areas are set out. And we are working on an interactive GIS system that's going to be online that hopefully citizens will be able to understand and use more appropriately than just...
And going along those lines, I agree with Kevin as the development director. We do have a future land use map, and I do think it probably would benefit the board to have us do a presentation on that map. But any action item by the board that said we would not consider doing a four-story building or something as you just described, if it was contrary to what the zoning was in that map, then it would constitute a commission action without notice and a due process problem, and we could fill the room with people concerned when in fact we weren't taking any action. So what we probably should do is start with a future land use presentation, and then if in fact the commission is inclined, we could actually amend future land uses to be more restrictive in those neighborhoods like you're describing and provide the notice and do that. Or I think also once it's presented, you'll probably see that what we find is that it's not until it's directly adjacent to my property do I object. But I agree with Kevin wholeheartedly on that. I have a little concern about the notice.
I appreciate our attorney's care about the language used, and future land use is perfect. That's what I'm searching for. We talk about zoning often and the code, but rarely, I mean, future land use is always listed in every development application when we look at it, but we don't really see it holistically often. So I think, yes, that's perfect. We don't need to talk about where we would never and where we would always. But yes, future land use review would be I think, a good part of that presentation. So thanks for that.
Great
Keep it simple,
idea.
stupid, right?
Very good. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Meyer?
That's it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I just have a few things. I have a lot of things, but I usually try to
couple
discuss
things.
them. Oh, you want to go? Okay, that's
Well-
right. I'll allow you to go before me, Vice Mayor. I know I
Should I?
kind of
Well-
forgot you. I'm sorry.
To touch on that growth topic and then density and what you were talking about, Commissioner, I'll jump on that. I had made a note of that in my last, but I'm one that when I go to a restaurant, a lot of times I want to order one of everything on the menu. And I guess what I mean by that is representing the city. We do have kind of this menu of options that applicants can give to us, give to the city residents when they get, variances or increased density bonuses or whatever they want. But sometimes you don't always get what's on the menu, but also, I don't exactly know where I'm going with this, but I do have a 2-year-old, and I've noticed from parenting that when she says, no, 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 I want more, sometimes she gets it. And ironically, I'm going to sit up here and say that sometimes we should act like my 2-year-old and say to the applicants, no, 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 we can do better for city residents. And I think we might get more for the residents. I certainly have not voted against every development project, but the 5 of us are sitting up here in charge of that menu of what the give and take is, and we've given numerous options, and density is one of those on the item, but it's up to all of us going off the future land use map to back staff so they can negotiate toughly on behalf of the city and our residents to make sure we're getting a good deal. And, each one of us individually has to follow their heart on that deal, but I think and still believe we could be doing better for some of these projects. I wanted to switch topics a little bit, though. Well, actually, let me just jump to this one. Speaking of doing better, we've all probably noticed the Cube Smart building that's gone up on the corner of Palm City Road and US 1. I've had some comments on it. There's been a few columns written about it. And a lot of people would say that same argument. We should be doing better. But frankly, when I tell them it could have been a gas station, usually they get a questionable look and kind of realize it. But I also really love the murals and how the city has worked with different property owners. And I'd like for us as a city to take something negative if we have the opportunity and try and turn it into a positive thing. And I've had numerous now artists or just interested residents comment to me that Cube Smart building would be a great place for a mural that turns it from the Cube Smart building to something else as you drive north on US 1, that you see it, that it's a highlight, so that your eye catches it and you get a warm feeling instead of that disgusting feeling that many residents have implored on me. So I would like to see if my fellow commissioners would agree with me. I've thought about reaching out to the owner myself or the corporation and see if I can make any headway, but I think it might be more impactful if we as a city commission have staff draft a letter seeing if they'd be willing to work with us. It is within our CRA. And for now, if they'd be willing to work with the city in creating a mural on the building's real estate that it shows to all those cars drive. And from then, if that was the case, we could have have different local artists submit applications and figure out a way to move forward from there. So I would like to, yeah.
I would absolutely support that if we can make just one, through another option rather than maybe a mural, maybe some sort of light thing that could be changed seasonally and they could do it with light being projected on it. That might be something that might be more palatable to them, but also I think it could be really kind of cool, especially, have it lit up in the holidays, have it lit up red, white, blue on the 4th of July. It'd be something that could be
Okay.
shows. So just as another, not necessarily.
So you're saying a
has to be
public
that
art,
as an-
some type of a public art consideration, if the owners would consider
It
that?
could be programmed to all kinds of things, so.
And we do have public art that, we all approved and is going up in the building there. But I've had so many residents, and I certainly agree that the real fabric of where to put the art is right on the building itself. And now and I'll stand by my vote to support that building going up. I spoke to every resident, and they would have preferred and do prefer that building over a gas station, but we could try and improve it. So I will amend my motion to see if staff would draft a letter on behalf of the city to see if the owner would work with the city on creating a piece of public art, whether it's a painted mural or light art,
I'll second that.
and that's it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I think Commissioner Meyer has a question and Commissioner Bruner has a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Commissioner, that's a great idea. I think we need to figure out whether or not we, are we suggesting that we're going to fund it, help fund it?
Well-
I want us to have a game plan in place before we reach out.
So my thought is that maybe we could encourage them to work with some of our CRA programs and we could tweak some of those programs, like the mural matching grant program.
Right.
Or the business improvement program that we
It's
just.
quite likely that the exterior of the building would require at least one public hearing because it was done by a PUD, and it's actually, believe it or not, conditionalized on the way the outside is painted because the approval was conditioned on a mural on the outside of the building to make it look like an office building.
Right.
So it probably would require an amendment to the PUD. It may be a minor amendment, but it would be, in fact, require an amendment to the PUD.
Okay.
So you're suggesting that we kind of introduce them to the CRA matching programs and, if they say.
And see if,
They say we're open to it, but, we already put money in, because they did, a substantial amount of money in their public art piece that we all approved. Would we be then willing to, foot the full bill, or how are you feeling about that?
well, I have confidence that our staff would really draft the letter to try and get a response to see if they'd be willing to work with us at that
Okay.
point. And we would decide the finances after the fact of yes or no if they're willing to work with us. Right now, we've got a storage unit that is painted to look like an office building. What I'm going for is that they add a little more paint so it's an office building with a mural on it that local artists pick, or a light show or something. But we don't have to discuss much further if they just flat out reject it. But I'm going on the fact that, they've made a substantial investment in this community and, want to do what's best for the community as we all do.
All right, Commissioner Meyer, I'm done.
I would think, just the last thing, maybe, do you think it would have more weight if the letter came from the commission rather than from staff?
I think staff is fine.
Okay.
Well,
mean-
I'll sign, you want me to draft it, is that what we're saying?
No, staff can draft it, but I'm just saying,
Oh,
if
yeah.
it was signed by all of us?
That
you
was
know?
my intent.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Staff would draft a letter and we would all sign it.
Okay.
I think either or works, but yeah, that's fine.
Is that, what, I'm going to ask Commissioner Bruner to comment, but I need to know if, You're specifying that, so is that what you, both of you are making the motion and agreeing to that, Commissioner McDonald? Is that what you're saying? Thank you.
Yes, that was.
Okay, Commissioner Bruner?
I have a hard time with it. We approved it, we allowed it, and if we go to them, it's like, oh, I made a mistake.
No, just an ask.
If it can be done that way, we're just asking him, and then, are we gonna start doing it to more people, other people? It's his business, and that's the most attractive part, I think, is that, that's a storage. I think we have to be really handling that right, so I really have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you.
I would just say, be careful what you ask for, because you never know what that mural is going to look like, and once it's there, it's there.
Well, if I may, Madam Mayor, to the attorney's point, Mr. Mortel's point, it would be, because we have, in the development order for the PUD, we have it actually, like, the elevations are approved, we would have to approve.
It would have to be amended. On top of that, you guys mentioned the CRA. First of all, I know that you guys make up the CRA, but the CRB would need to buy into this as well before it got to the CRA. And so right now, what I'm hearing is a general fund request from the city commission because of who we're sitting at today. But it would require a buy-in of the city, it would require an amendment to the PUD, and then, of course, a redesign of the, but, and again, I understand what Commissioner Matheson is saying. He's saying,
Right.
leave everything the same, but on the blank wall that's painted to look like a blank wall of an office building, add a mural. So it's not as complicated as it sounds.
Exactly.
But it does require an amendment to the PUD.
So can I say this, that I know that there's been a motion and a second, but based on what city manager is saying, be careful what you ask for type of deal. Is it possible at this point, at this meeting today on the 22nd, since we've voiced all these things and staff know, can we put it at the level where we ask staff to maybe look into it, make some inquiries, and then, if anything, we can come back with something if we need to, so that it's not a full ask at this time? Is anybody, I'm just asking if you want to change your motion, but
Well,
if you don't want to, that's
I
fine
mean,
too.
since we have to approve anything that would change the PUD, we might ask for something. They could come back with, a horrible, ugly witch flying on a broom. We could say no. But if it's a sailfish or something, we would work with them. But I don't see the point in kind of half-asking. I think we should just ask if they're interested in doing that or not.
Madam Mayor, can I?
Does it cost money to make changes to the PUD?
Yeah.
And we're going to
It's
be
between $5,000
asking
and
them,
$10,000.
what was that, sir?
It generally costs between $5,000 and $10,000 to amend the PUD from a procedural aspect.
Unless the
minor
city
in the
wants to take,
application.
unless we're agreeing that the city would take up that, because we're putting this new additional issue to them.
Madam Mayor, can I make a suggestion? I think it's a really great idea, but clearly there are it's not as simple as just them putting a mural on. I'm understanding now. So I love the idea, but maybe instead of us voting on having staff write and execute this letter, I'd like to get a slightly better sense of the procedural, like what is going to be required for them to do it, the review process, the PUD amendment, the cost, all of that before we do the letter. You know what I'm saying? I understand it can't hurt to ask, but if they like the idea, I want to be better aware of what the whole process is going to entail.
Yes, I did receive letters from people asking me the same question, even suggestions of what has happened in other places and what it would look like. I did discuss it with the city manager, but I hear Commissioner Matheson, Vice Mayor Matheson now wants to make a motion. Like I said, I agree, let's not do it today, but it's up to
Well, if
everybody.
it's-
What do you,
The will of the board, I'll amend my motion to have staff bring back a full review, so if we knew, but without the dialogue going forward, I don't want to waste staff's time in that. If they're not willing to entertain anything, then we're wasting staff's time more than just drafting a letter. It might be, as I said, is it a minor amendment to a PUD or a major amendment?
Sounds to me like, once we get staff involved, it starts rising to the level of changing the PUD, maybe we just give them a call.
It's city manager too.
That's what I was just going to suggest.
good.
Tomorrow morning, I'll
give
get
them a
on the
call.
phone, I'll call them up and see if they're interested.
And I have a question. Would we have to amend the PUD if you did a light projection?
No. I mean, the PUD has a lighting program, but as long as they meet that, if they add the light projection, they can. I don't know which wall you're talking about, but
Well, Mike, I know you've been to Denver. I don't know if you've ever been out there at Christmas time, but there's like a couple of the buildings where I think the state capitol is. It's just lit up with a light show every Christmas, and you can do with a few small projectors. It's amazing what they can do, and that's why I suggested the light show.
I agree.
So rather than,
Why don't we just,
I think maybe a
staff
call
can
from
call,
staff.
we ourselves as, elected representatives can call and form the relationship and suss it out for now.
So if our development director will reach out,
I'll
You
reach
know,
out, let
you
you
can-
know.
speak on behalf of the commission that we're interested and go from there.
Yep.
And I'll rescind my motion to put it in writing.
I'll inform the city manager of progress, and that can be passed on.
Okay.
Thank you. Continue, please.
Well, I wanted to mention that we officially, all of us, have our flyer for the Stuart Job Fair. I believe there's some news media in the room. I look forward to them helping us spread the word about it. The job fair is April 15th at our Stuart Public Safety Complex. I want to thank the Business Development Board and Career Sources for getting us to the point where we are with flyers and information to spread around the community. It's, again, April 15th at the Public Safety Complex on Martin Luther King, 4 to 7. We have a list of quite a few, including City of Stuart, Martin County BOCC, Cleveland Clinic, numerous job providers. And veterans can arrive and show up at 3:30 for a half-hour early entry. So please spread the word. Anyone looking to provide jobs to residents or looking for jobs may sign up and register. It'll be on our Facebook page if it's not already. And lastly, today is World Water Day. And it was started in 1993 to raise awareness that now daily 2.2 billion people have trouble finding access to safe drinking water every day in this planet. And I say that because ironically, we have about 320 million gallons dumping out of our locks of not quite clean drinking water, but fresh water being sent out to the ocean where we don't want it. And I'll transition into the lake stage just real quickly is 14.81 feet. 1 month ago, it was 15.51 feet, so the recession rate has increased slightly. Again, we would ideally, with a regular LORS schedule, be hoping for 12.5 feet or better, and Colonel Kelly's kind of stated that come June 1st. But that's going to be really tough or almost impossible to reach, even with the discharges that are happening now. 1 year ago, we were today at 12.24 feet. So we had already reached that mark, and we're continuing to draw the lake down. And Madam Mayor, those are all my comments.
Okay. I just have a few comments. The flyer on the job fair, we have a flyer also on the cleanup coming up this Saturday for the East Stewart community. One of my themes is to have clean river, clean streets, and we've been working with Ann Ellig on that. If you haven't received a flyer by email or something, we'll try to get that out to you. On the very next day, in the downtown area, from starting at St. Mary's Church and coming into East Stewart, we'll be having a Palm Sunday walk. We've had this now, I think, for the past 4 years or so. We'll be having that on April 3rd at the 10th Street Recreation Center. Senator Gail Harrell and a group of members of the community have put together a vaccination day. We hope to vaccinate about 500 people. Please get the word out to everybody, every single soul, especially in our minority communities. We would ask that people talk about the importance of having the vaccine with your family, with your friends, and follow the guidelines based on the state for age or criteria, teachers, whatever. And please contact, for me, I know that contact Ms. Thelma Washington, 283-6321, or anyone else, or look at the city's website, or call someone at the city if you have any questions on how to sign up and become a priority for that vaccine event. I just recently attended the Florida League of Cities, the Black Caucus of Municipal Officials, and that was a very good conference. I gave some information to our city manager, and the focus has been on the vaccine, communicating to our community how to get people signed up for the vaccine so we can all get back to work, we can all get back to school safely, do everything safely in the state of Florida, and to stop the spread of the virus, and also different ways of doing affordable housing, and of course, creating a great sense of place in our communities. So those are very big issues for all communities, and we just have so much to do. I am working with hopefully we'll get staff again to give us a presentation on housing so we can better understand where we stand in our city and maybe continue to work with our public as things go on. We've mentioned the Regional Planning Council and their report, and at the meeting before this, the CRA meeting, we talked about ways to bring more of that information to the public. And within the city of Stuart, we've had the plan, which we call the Duane Plan, since 1989, and hopefully we'll come together and work to maybe get a synopsis of what has happened in Stuart since those many years, over 25 years ago, for how our downtown has changed and how good planning efforts, starting as a seed, can work, and what changes need to occur to continue to make our city a strong, great place to live. So, and I thank you for your interest in that, and actually all of our interest in that effort, and what was especially mentioned by Commissioner Meyer. I have a letter here from the South Florida Water Management. I think everybody received a copy, and I don't know if the clerk needs to have a copy, but we had sent a letter to ask them to maximize, the sending the water south through the STAs, and they sent us back. Mr. Drew Bartlett sent us a response. I want to make sure that we have this in our record, and you have a copy of it, and the district is doing absolutely what they can do at this time, working along with the Corps of Engineers. With regard to development and making our city a better place to live, we get comments all the time, but since I received this in the mail from Mrs. Donna Berner regarding the Central Parkway lofts and her comments, I just wanted to make sure that I gave it to the city clerk in case she wants to have it for posterity. This Ms. Berner was opposed and was confused, not really confused, concerned as to the different developments on Central Parkway, and wants to make sure that we put our best efforts when we make our consideration. That's the gist of the letter that she sent us with regard to the Central Parkway lofts. I will end my comment on a sad note. We lost one of the postal workers who works in our area, Mr. Calvin Barry, and his funeral will be this Saturday in Port St. Lucie. And we did start the meeting by acknowledging this sad event, and we hope that his family will remain strong during this time. City Manager.
I just want to recognize the fire department. They had a successful event this weekend and gave out over 150 smoke alarms, so thank you for doing that.
Yes, I didn't get to it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is that it? Is that it, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Our next item is the approval of the agenda as published, unless somebody wants to add or pull anything.
Madam Mayor, I'll move approval.
Second.
Commissioner Meyer, then Commissioner Matheson. Do we have any comments on the agenda from the public? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now we move to the official comments by the public. I have 3 cards. I will call these. Everybody, it's 3 minutes. And I will observe the rule. If I'm not observing the rule and you're not happy with it, the clerk or the city attorney or the city manager, I think our city manager will do the gavel again one more time. So we have 3 minutes. And if you're on Zoom, if Mr. Paul would let us know if there's anybody on Zoom after these 3 persons, or if you're in the audience and you have not put in something, you can always come up and put in a card. The first person is Ms. Karen Hall, Yost Rudge.
Good evening. Thank you for your service. Karen Hall, Yost Rudge, 1701 Southwest Palm City Road. So, let's see, a motion for relief, 1.540 motion was filed at the 19th Circuit, says here, on 129, and then I dropped off for each one of you, and that was on 2/19, so that was February 19th. So it was a very small motion, and actually, Commissioner Bruner, I thought of you when I wrote it. I said, how can I write this so simply that even Becky Bruner, who's not an attorney, could understand it? So I hope you guys read it. I have not heard or seen a special city commission meeting about this. So that troubles me. I mean, February 19th, and it's March 22nd today. So hopefully, you're going to have your special committee meeting, which you've had for years. And, so that's all I'd like. I'd like to also say that I knew Calvin. He was happy. He was the most positive guy, and I pray for his family. And I want to add to Commissioner Meyer, bikes, walking, and scooters. People are using scooters now. It's so exciting. We can do this, but we have to connect, like they say, the sidewalks. And I don't call that a hot right. If you do the speed limit, it's not a hot right. But definitely, we need some traffic calming, but yes, I'm excited about our city. We could do a sustainable, we can have that nice little, you can see it now, just the beginning of it. But we have to continue, and we do have to get a hold of this development. And I was really inspired 2 weeks ago, the people with their petitions and talking, it's very inspiring. So I look forward to this year for our city, and look forward to a hearing or a special committee meeting about this 10-year, 11-year fight for justice. And thank God it was done to me. I'm fair-skinned, no criminal record. I can't imagine families of color with a misdemeanor, what would happen to them. My kids got harmed, but no other child in the city of Stuart will ever be harmed this way. Thank you, God. Amen.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Ms. Helen McBride.
Helen McBride from Flamingo Avenue. You know, I've been coming to these meetings much longer than any one of you sitting up there. And even David was in elementary school with my son, John. People always ask me, because they know I come to these meetings, questions, and usually I can answer them. But in the last week or two, I haven't been able to answer. What in God's name is going on at the Pelican? Now, that was the Coast Guard, and we, the people of the city of Stuart, own that building, and I know from past years, anything has to be done, the taxpayers has to pay. And I haven't been downtown the last couple of weeks because I've been busy spring cleaning. But so when I thought, well, I'll go down. So I come down today. I'm baffled. I sat here when you said the Pelican, and then, we went through that whole thing with the former owner and the new ones coming in and what the project was, and it sounded good, because I'm all for progress. But all those, looks like walls going up. What is going on? No, I said, I don't know, maybe they're building a jail, to make a joke of it. Don't you think we, the people, the taxpayers, because we're paying for that. You can't tell me any builder's building it because it's city-owned and it's a federal grant. Please, come, I'm going to say, come clean and tell the people. Tell them what you're doing with our money. Tell them what you're building down there. Now, I know, and definitely, I was talking to the manager over there at the restaurant when, Hudson on the River, we're all looking for it to be there. But forget this cloak and dagger. Tell us what you're doing. And on my Facebook, people were, the comments, what's going there, and boy, some of them are coming up with good ones. But please, and I know you are, because like I said, I've been coming. You're the most honest people I know. But you got to be, in this case, this is the first time I can't say something, because I said, I have no idea. They've never talked about it at any meeting I have been at. That's all I'm asking, because, I stand behind you all, and I'm all for progress downtown, like you say, Becky. And I read the article where a columnist in the Stuart News, and a certain commissioner made him a lemon pie, not me, but him, what he had to say. I didn't appreciate it. When I came to here, it was a ghost town downtown. And now we're a historical town. We won the award for the come for vacation, the water, and green. That's why I'm always fighting for the trees and the green space. But we can always keep progress and do better. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Tom Penny?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of comments. If you're going to look at the hot right, you need to look at the entire street, because if you just take away the hot right, you may be creating other problems. So unless you're going to do a study from the bridge past Canner Highway, that may not be the best thing to do. So I would urge the commission, before they spend any money or do anything with the MPO, that there be some sort of a study to see how we can improve that corridor so we don't create more problems. Second thing, as far as Duwani is concerned, you're absolutely right, Mayor. It was a wonderful plan. Unfortunately, if we did about 1.5% of it, it's a lot. So I think the Duwani plan is about dead, especially we were talking about Colorado Avenue, because we didn't approve one project on Colorado Avenue that had anything to do with what Mr. Duwani drew up. As to the Q-Smart, I don't know about you, but you guys approved that, and now you're asking him to change what you approved. That's not the way you should do business, and if I were a developer, I don't know if I would trust you. You made a deal. You may not like the deal, but you made a deal. As to a light show, you have residents right behind it. You're going to start shining lights. You know what? Everyone complains until they get used to it. I complained when I finished my pool, but now I got used to it, so now it's beautiful. So I'm going to urge everybody to take a step back and think, because once you make a deal, you have to stick to it. Otherwise, developers will no longer trust what you say up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campenny. This is time for public comments. If there are no further public comments, we will. One on the Zoom. Thank you. Please proceed if you're on Zoom.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Please state your name.
My name is. Oh, sorry. I'm having feedback here. My name is Linda K. Richards, and I'm at 166 Southwest Point Circle. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person today. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Ms. Richards, you are going in and out, but if you
This is all I got. I couldn't make it down there today. So I just have a couple of comments. My first one is about Commissioner Meyer's comment earlier about the future land use map and how you're dealing with the changes of land use and density in the city. And I just want to point out that the city is annexing in land and changing the future land use. So we sit here and say, oh, we're going to look at the future land use. However, the city is able to change the future land use within 2 readings at city commissioners. So the future land use map of the county has been thrown out the window when the city annexes in properties, and then they change the future land use regulations or whatever you want to call it. So I do believe that Commissioner Meyer is right that you need to look at what changes are being made to your future land use maps as you annex in these properties. And I can label them off for you if you want to talk about Spring Tree or you want to talk about Bridgeview. There's many of them. I think even the one up north of Stuart was also a change from a commercial to a residential PUD or RUPUD or whatever you want to call it today. So I think it's very important for the city of Stuart to look at what you guys are doing with your future land map. So that was what I did not have any prepared comments today, and I am sorry that I'm not there in person. And the other thing is, I really think that we need to look at our development office in the city of Stuart and see what kind of consulting firms are being run by our maybe people who live in our development office, and if there's any conflict that's going on in how we're changing how we're developing here in the city of Stuart, and perhaps maybe in our development office, there might be some conflict of interest on how our development office is often supporting these developers, such as Central Parkway Lofts that was done at the last community member. So I'm just asking that our city commissioners really look at exactly what is being done, what is being annexed in, what our land future changes are being made, and really look at the density issues that you guys are bringing into our city right now. That's all I have to say tonight. I do want to thank you all for your service, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Are there any other people on Zoom, Mr. Paul? Thank you. No one in the building. Thank you. Let's go to the next item, which is the consent calendar. We have the approval of the March 8th, 2021.
Move for approval.
Seconded by Commissioner, Vice Mayor. All in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I know we normally don't do this, but I just wanted to address one public comment, if I may, about the Hudsons on the river. Yeah. Is that okay?
I was gonna let Mr. Mortel or the city manager.
Well, I was gonna, yeah, I was
defer
gonna,
my time to Commissioner Meyer.
I was gonna bring it up and ask for staff, because, I understand that it's been a while since we approved
I'll
the
address it.
license agreement.
City manager, thank you.
Yes, so the plans that are currently being down there are in the lease. They're attached to the lease that we originally approved, and they haven't defrayed from those plans that are in the lease. The contractor, the leaser of that, is paying for that entire bore of building that building. The city is not paying for that at all. It's all coming out of his pocket. It was part of the lease and factored into his lease terms and the amount that he has to pay for that construction. The reason you see that wall going up, that's a stem wall, because when he first started the construction, it was determined that it was either South Florida Water Management or DEP wouldn't allow that to occur because of sea level rise and the amount of flooding there, unless they raised it up, which is also why the roof of the Pelican building is off, because they have to raise the interior, the floor of the Pelican as well. So that's raised up, I believe it's about 18 inches up to raise it from the ground to prevent the flooding within that area. And then, right, so that stem wall area that you see now will have basically, I guess it's called Eisenhower glass or whatever that opens, so it'll all be open from the outside by glass openings. But that's the reason why you see the half hall block wall height right there right now.
So to put a finer point on it, the taxpayers are not footing the bill for that construction.
They are
That
not.
is the private
As a private venture.
leaseholder. And that's an important, because if we were doing that and not talking about it, I would be upset too, so. Thank you for indulging me, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We go into our first commission action item, which will be introduced and worked with by our city manager at first, and then possibly our, because we have a format presentation.
This would be
issue.
Resolution 35-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute a grant award agreement between the City of Stuart and the Business Development Board of Martin County to support economic development projects, programs, and services, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
Okay.
Jim Korolski,
Mr.
Community
Korolski.
Services Director for the record, and we have a short presentation for you by the Business Development Board of Martin County. In our audience, we have Kate Kottner, Executive Director for the BDB, and also Joan Goodrich, who's the Executive Director. Ladies?
Good evening, everyone. So, as Jim said, my name is Kate Kottner, and I am the Senior External Affairs Advisor with Florida Power and Light Company. But tonight, I am here as the new chair of the Business Development Board of
Hey,
Martin
can we talk to you about those light poles? Oh, just kidding.
No, oh.
Glad we have you.
You can bring up the mic.
I already talked
Can I?
about
Can
power
you hear
lines
me
and
okay?
trees.
Okay. So I'm really just honored to be here this evening to represent the Business Development Board, and we have a lot of exciting things that are taking place. And Joan is here today to tell you guys just a little bit more about that.
Again, good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, staff members, and members of the public. Joan Goodrich, Executive Director of your Business Development Board of Martin County. We did want to give you just a briefing as you consider this resolution, and we thank you for taking the time to consider it together. As a reminder, and certainly given the past 12 months that we've been engaged in the pandemic, we do believe a stronger economy is everyone's business, and we appreciate all of the efforts of you all, your leadership, your team, and in particular our community, as we've sought to support each other locally, shop locally, buy locally, produce locally. Again, the core business of the Business Development Board is we're in business, and we will have been in business thanks to your support and the support of others for 30 years. We'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary and starting, growing, keeping, and welcoming new business and industry to our community. Just a few of the activities that we've been engaged in over the past 12 months. We followed your lead. That as we went into this pandemic, your team showed extraordinary ingenuity and creativity in bringing people back downtown and reminding people that our businesses were open for business once some of our executive orders were lifted. So we followed your lead, and we also produced a countywide We're Ready video series to help some of our local businesses tell their story and letting the community know that they had reopened. We produced 18 of the videos, and 5 of those were in addition to the videos that you did with some of your Stuart businesses. Additionally, there was a need to get some information into the hands of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, as they were dealing with new issues, tactical issues, strategic issues, as they went in and began to come out of the pandemic. So we did produce an online web series called Small Talk and brought subject matter experts to them. We produced 12 of those shows, and we have plans to continue to do more. The other thing that we also tried and did was to give hope to our community and share some of the extraordinary stories of generosity, of ingenuity of local businesses. And we did call this new PR communication series The Stories of Triumph. And so we highlighted about a dozen businesses and just how they were giving back to the community, new products and services that they were producing. Because in the world of economic development, and as we seek to start up, grow, keep, and bring new businesses and industry to our community, we do know that stories sell. And so we were very proud of that particular series, and we will be continuing that too. If that wasn't enough, we did continue our work to assess the entrepreneurial underpinnings of our community. And just recently, the Board of Directors of the Business Development Board supported some new strategies around how we can really advance the work of entrepreneurs in our community. And we're calling that Propel MC. We've got an action list of about 9 items. As we looked at the asset mapping, we've got some gaps, we've got some great opportunities to build upon, and we look forward to doing that with our partners and the community at large. Of course, some of that work around advancing entrepreneurship goes back to 5 years ago when you helped us establish the Business Accelerator Program for our small businesses, and as we tried to arm them with more training in order to have their businesses become that much more efficient and profitable. So that would just be an example of what would fall under Propel MC as we move forward. Additionally, we recognized that there was a gap. You know, many of our businesses that maybe were not sheltered during some of the executive orders were actually growing during the pandemic. But they couldn't grow as quickly as they wanted because they didn't have the hands, they didn't have the talent in their teams. So bridging that gap between those here in our community that want to work for great companies and businesses, and those great businesses and companies looking for great local people. So we piloted a radio campaign with 101.3 FM right before the holidays. It was a 14-week campaign. Actually, your team here at the City of Stuart participated in the Jobs of the Week. So again, just another example of what we're trying to do and thinking out of the box. How do we meet the needs of the community? And that goes then into just how we're growing our partnership with you, which we're very proud of. Of course, the Vice Mayor has already mentioned the job fair that we're working on together with our partners at Career Source Research Coast on April 15th. We're also recruiting for the next cohort for the Business Accelerator Program, which will begin April 5th. We recognized in our asset mapping around entrepreneurship that, again, the Business Accelerator Program was the only formal business training that we were providing. And there was a need for business training before Business Accelerator Program and then master classes afterwards. So we're currently working with your team and the community with the NAACP, looking to build a new curriculum called Side Hustle to Main Gig, to help some of our cottage businesses that are in our community, and this will be centered in our East Stewart community. Additionally, we are supporting your team on the federal highway study and participating in that program, and we just love participating with your team and the Regional Planning Council on that as you envision just what the federal highway corridor could look like moving forward. We've been invited to participate on the board of your Stuart Main Street, so we're engaged at the street level here now. And of course, just before we went into the pandemic, we formed a table. We called it a Partners Council table. Anybody doing the work of business, community development, workforce development, nonprofits, education, we welcomed them around the table so we could share information, share business intelligence, share resources, and that ended up being just a blessing, because when we went into the pandemic, then we turned that into our biz team. It's now 30 strong, and we're so pleased that your very busy city staff team participates in that and shares information back and forth with others, 30 other partners that sit around the table. In the world of economic development, it does come down to numbers too. You know, performance, measurement, accountability is extremely important. Again, with the proceeds that the Board of County Commissioners provides the Business Development Board to deliver economic development services, and should you approve this resolution, you know, you should expect from your Business Development Board key intended outcomes. So here are our numbers for the past 18 months. We worked with and announced 9 economic development announcements. So those are businesses either coming, growing, staying, or starting up, with a job impact of 121 jobs. So again, some of these businesses are very small, but we don't, small or large, we love working with business owners who want to make investment in our community. It had an impact of about 151,000 square feet on office, commercial, industrial, flex space here in the community. And those businesses in turn made a capital investment of about $26 million and more. Also, we got very proactive. We weren't waiting for our phones to ring, although our phones started ringing. That was another blessing for us from COVID. But we had some very aggressive call strategies that we did in partnership, in conjunction with our partners. So our total to date now is over 1,100 calls with businesses here in the community looking for assistance and all of the connections that go along with that. We also made 59 in-person and virtual one-on-one visits because, again, keeping a pulse on what businesses are going through really drives the programming and initiatives that we do. Additionally, your Business Development Board also manages the Martin County Industrial Development Authority. This is where we can give entities access to industrial revenue bonds in order to build new facilities. That could be water and sewer facilities. That could be manufacturing facilities, healthcare facilities. We actually did a refinancing during the past 18 months for our Jensen Beach healthcare facility there. The last time you saw us at your podium was when we were helping to educate the bond referendum that our community considered in August of 2020. Yes, which was the reauthorization of our economic development ad valorem tax exemption tool on a countywide basis, and we're very thankful for you giving us that podium, and the voters said a 63% yes. Use that tool to bring good jobs, to grow good jobs here in Stuart, Martin County. And then, again, your team also participated with us with some of the roundtables that we were also able to get off the ground during the pandemic. A commercial real estate banking finance roundtable, a marine roundtable. We also did a future of work and learning roundtable around talent workforce development. And in the coming months, we'll do our second commercial real estate roundtable and an IT roundtable because we see great promise in the IT industry in our community. Some of the recent announcements, in addition to, and within the numbers, or they weren't in those numbers that I gave you earlier, a relocation of Grindhard Ammo into the city of Stuart with a 20-job impact and a $20 million capital investment. Tribute Performance Boats looking to build a new facility here in Martin County to support their growing business. Ebersol Boats is a business that actually rolled out of the Business Accelerator program, got connected, opened a business, and away they go. They're actually looking for about nine people to join their team. Another great marine business. And Aqualogics, a new company coming up from South Florida, has selected Martin County for that. Our prospect pipeline is very robust. 31 prospects we're currently working with a potential CapEx of $119 million and about 1,500 jobs if we got really good and got each and every one of them. Now, some of what is coming down the pike for us at the Business Development Board in conjunction with our partners and community is telling that story. of what makes Martin County and Stuart a great place to do life, work, and business. So, again, the last 18 months has been really looking at keeping that back door closed, helping our local businesses grow and start up. Some of now what we want to do together with our partners is around a new Hubs of Excellence marketing and branding strategy. We've identified what our key industries are, what's in our DNA here in our community, including aviation, what we call clean and green, clean energy, green tech, marine, life sciences, medical, and healthcare. And these are the industries that can bring us those better jobs, that will be able to make those capital investments. So beginning on April 1st, actually, we just got approval by our board to reallocate resources. We will be marching forward with our new Hubs of Excellence strategy. The campaign will be called MC 360 Degrees, A Better Life from Every Angle. And in that campaign, which will be cross-marketing platform with TV, website, owned media, collateral, targeted outreach. We'll begin to tell the story of Martin County, the city of Stuart, in a much more, surprising way than we have in quite some time. Our targeted audiences for MC 360 Degrees will, of course, be our business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, young adults, young professionals, graduates, influencers, residents. The newness of MC 360 Degrees is we're going to do this from the inside out. So part of our reputation, well-known reputation, is one that it's been said that we're closed for business. Well, of course, we know we're not closed for business, and we've been doing beautiful business. So part of what we want to do, though, to really lift our storytelling up is starting with those of us that are already here, reminding ourselves of what our points of pride are, community pride, and giving you some of those stories. Again, I already mentioned it'll be cross-marketing platform. And our centerpiece showcase for original content will actually be a new TV show. We're calling it Martinomics, play off of Martin in economics. And all of that original content that will be focused on the shows around aviation, marine, clean and green, and life sciences, medical healthcare. Will then, all of that original content, all those original beautiful faces and stories, including our lifestyle, our talent profiles, beyond the bottom line, a local take, and the call to action will all be incorporated in those new TV shows. So on behalf of the board of directors, we would just like to thank Jim and Kevin, Penal and David, your team, for really engaging with us, in particular during COVID, during the pandemic. Also, I'd like to thank Commissioner Bruner and Commissioner McDonald, who represents you on the board of the Business Development Board and brings your voices forward. So that's, probably lengthy, right? A quick recap of what we've been doing and where we're headed. And once again, a stronger economy, we believe, is everyone's business.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Joan and Kate, thank you for coming tonight. I think I'm now the longest serving member of the Board of Business Development. I think it's going on over 11 years or close to 11 years now. So seen a lot of transition, saw a lot of change, gone through it where there was turmoil with problems with budgets. But I guess it was about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we made the decision to hire Joan. Thank you. Joan, how long have you been with the Business Development Board now?
It'll be 2 years in June.
Wow, it seems a lot longer than that. And that was, the hiring of Joan was also a part of a restructuring of the board. And I'm very happy to say the leadership that she's brought, along with the leadership of the change of the board, that the Business Development Board has become very productive. And she mentioned it multiple times during her presentation about partnerships. And and all the partnerships. And the city of Stuart is a partnership. And the Business Development Board has recognized some of the partnerships that we have. One of the conversations we had this past summer was, me and Joan had, was about regarding what is now, we're calling it the Side Hustle Program, which is kind of a precursor and to the BAP program. But I suggested, and we've reached out and we've created another partnership with one of our partners, the NAACP, and we're focusing in and around East Stuart to help small businesses that are your 1 and 2 person type businesses, your landscapers, your mobile car detailing guys, pressure washers, all those kinds of small 1 and 2 person businesses, to give them the knowledge base, the information, and the confidence to grow their businesses, expand, and become a larger business is producing more income for themselves and their family, and hiring more people, creating more jobs. The grind hard ammo, could you remind us, what is the capital investment?
25 million.
I don't think that, was it 25?
Yeah, I think I have
It
got
was in the,
Yeah, I remember, I just can't, I always just wanted them to say it. I think it, but.
Yeah, it's
think
20 million plus.
The tax revenue for grind hard ammo, I haven't done the math, but it's going to be a significant amount of income coming in, tax revenue coming into the city, not to mention the 20 good paying jobs. I really liked the article that was written over the end of last week. I thought it was a good article. And there's a lot of benefits. And these are the partnerships that we've created. And so I take great pride and pleasure into making the motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for resolution number 3520, 2021. Are there any, okay, we'll get some further comments from our Commissioner Meyer, before we go to the public.
thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I wanted to touch on the grind hard ammo thing as well, because I did hear from a couple residents about anxiety around an ammunitions manufacturing facility right next to the school. And I was happy to read in that article that it was just the shell casings and not the explosive material, because I didn't know how to answer the questions that I was getting. How could we have allowed this? And I thought, you're right, that doesn't seem right so it put my mind at ease to know that our zoning doesn't allow for explosives manufacturing right next to a school.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I want to add just one other thing. The way the Business Development Board pivoted last year from just straight economic development to actually helping the businesses in our community maintain during the beginning of the pandemic was very valuable. And I think, and our team, the city of Stuart, did an amazing job. And as you saw, they saw that partnership and they took the lead of the city and expanded it, not only throughout the city, but throughout the county. So just another way the city leads the way.
And then just a technical question. So this is for $10,000 for the grant, and then $15,000 on special projects. I just want to confirm with staff. So do we come up with a project, or do we work with them and then we figure out the cost, or does that allocate a certain number of projects?
No, it would have to be a mutually agreeable project as far as the submittal.
Okay, so we may not, it's not to exceed 25,000 in the fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any comments from the public regarding this matter? Resolution number 35-2021. Any comments on Zoom, Mr. Paul? Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner, Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Goodrich and Ms. Kotner. Resolution number 41-2021, urging the Bahamian government to ban offshore oil drilling. Mr. Mortel?
Resolution number 41-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, urging the Bohemian government to deny offshore drilling exploration licenses and permanently ban offshore drilling activities in the Bahamas, providing for an effective date and for other purposes. A resolution, I think it's double printed.
The purpose is.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the title.
It might
Move
be,
for
okay.
approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any comments from the public? Item number 4, Resolution 41-2021.
No comments.
Any comments from our commissioners?
No further.
Clerk?
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner? Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next, item number 5, Stuart Green Market License Agreement, Resolution number 34-2021, Mr. Mortel, and also Resolution number 37-2021 in this item.
I'll read them both, and then we can address them individually as they arise.
Yes,
The
sir.
first is Resolution Number 34-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, terminating the non-exclusive use license agreement between the city and the Stuart Green Market, Inc., an Internal Revenue Service designated 501c4 organization, authorizing the city manager to immediately exercise the 60-day written notice of termination outlined in Section 2 of the license agreement, providing an effective date and for other purposes. If Resolution 34-2021 passes or not, I believe we have to bring it up either way, we will address Resolution Number 37-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, requesting authorization to issue a request for proposal for the operation of a public market, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'll open it up to comments from the other commissioners, primarily at this point regarding Resolution 34-2021.
Oh, I just have a couple questions of staff. Did we receive any of the information from the current green market that we requested at the last meeting?
You requested a copy of the minutes, and I have not received that.
Or the insurance policy? Or
No.
we have not received any updated financials?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the resolution terminating the agreement.
Second. With discussion.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Vice Mayor, my only concern is that 60 days feels to me like kind of a tight turnaround, regardless of whether we want to do an RFP or not. We'll get to that when we get to it, but I would propose that we have 60 days in our out clause, but I would propose that we set the date, the effective date of the out clause to be maybe by the end of April, so that we have 90 days. I want to have plenty of time for us to, I don't want any of the vendors to suffer. This is not about the vendors.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we have a great solution, a great new vendor organizing the market. And I want that dialed in. I want us all to have plenty of time to talk about what our expectations for the market are, and potentially, I hope, time to review proposals. 60 days to me just seems like way too tight, and I don't want the vendors be left holding that bag.
Commissioner Meyer, I definitely hear what you're saying. I think from hearing our discussion last meeting, none of us want the vendors to suffer at all, and I don't want to see any lapse in that either. I had the same question to some of our staff about the 60 days, because my hesitation is, in a sense, if we're going to move forward in this termination agreement and then extend it, sometimes it's best to rip a Band-Aid off as quickly as possible. So I've asked some staff, and perhaps they could share their opinion, if we were in a situation where we needed another month, could our city staff handle running the green market so there is no lapse for the vendors, and one of them is down there? And that also, the advantage I see to that is that our staff is even more educated as it comes to signing a new license agreement with anyone else, any other future manager, should we move down that route with the vote. So there are those two options. We could extend the 60 days, or we could move forward with the motion on hand, but also instruct our staff to handle the market on the interim basis until we have a permanent manager.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, Ms.
I wanted to add, I don't know if we, 60 days, I don't know if it'll take 90 days, but Ms. Callahan called me and asked me to come talk to her, and she would like to do this, and I think this is the greatest. You won't have to do a proposal. She's part of the Main Street, and if you want her to do it, I mean, why would you, she's right here. She's knows this
Stuart
city.
Main Street wants to do it.
Stuart Main Street.
Well, first, let's deal with the motion.
Yes, but I'm just saying, I
Discussion regarding-
think it's a wonderful thing that we are awfully close and get this solution solved.
Any more discussion on resolution number 34-2021?
Yeah, I would just like to make one more case. Look, we're all in favor of, it sounds to me so far, of terminating the agreement. This is a kind of a big deal, and I want to make sure that, whether it be Main Street or potentially another organization that comes and takes place,
Seamless transition.
it needs to be seamless. And I've worked at the market, okay? I've vended there before. It seems simple, but there is a lot that goes into it, and I don't want to drop it in. I don't want to say, well, then if worse comes to worse, we can plop it in staff's lap. No staff would be very confident and capable of doing it, but there's contacting the vendors. There's a lot of management that goes on, and knowing all the rules and knowing all the vendors. We have to build a relationship with the vendors who are, I understand, very suspicious of this whole thing. So I just think there's no huge rush. Let's just make sure we get it right. And I think an extra 30 days could really give us that much more time to dial it in without, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents.
The only comment I would have about I don't know what kind of challenge we're going to receive from the current operators of the program, but if we're terminating it because we believe that there's malfeasance or misfeasance taking place as it relates to the money being generated by the program, any time or participation we jointly allow while he's failing to produce any of those records, I don't know what kind of culpability there is, but I think 90 days is totally reasonable, but I would not push this into 2022
No.
or anything like that, just because I'd be conscious of the fact that we have a non-cooperating person. We don't even know if he'll do it for the 90 days. He has not responded to the city since the last meeting. We've had zero communication with him. He didn't produce any of the records. He didn't respond at all.
Yeah, I don't want it to go any further than 90.
Well, that's my argument, that maybe staff could start as soon as possible to build the relationships and correct some of the
Yeah.
misconceptions that vendors think we want to close the green market.
Yeah, I have to agree. I am deeply concerned, I'm deeply concerned about not only the finances, but also the insurance issue. I've talked to Mr. Martell about one of the insurance issues involving some potential litigation. And I think that the potential liability is too great. And if we, and I also think that our staff, if need be, if they could have with short notice, and I wouldn't want, we could have something up and going to keep it going throughout a short period of a temporary period. But
May I just ask one question? Jim, will you be able to handle that?
Let's hear what staff has to say.
If we throw it under.
Thank you for asking. Community Services is fairly engaged almost in all of these activities. There are a couple of concerns, however, as it relates to this one, and I just wanted to share with you those concerns as we're moving forward. Since I really haven't heard anything from the green market per se, if you decide that you want to terminate the contract, come Easter Sunday, I mean, I'm interested to see what's going to happen. And I would probably invest my time to be down here on Easter Sunday, just making sure that, you know, the city doesn't look foolish. Not great timing, but, you know, that's just kind of the way it works. As far as us, I think it's really just going to be a matter of their management on how they want to end this agreement. If they want to move on for the 60 or 90 days that you allocate, or if they just might want to pull up the rug and just say, we're out. That I don't know.
I guess, Jim, the question is yes or no. Can Jessica handle it if we need her to step in and run it until we get a new vendor?
Staff can handle anything.
Excellent answer.
The very first one, I just want to be aware that, you know, it is a little bit of a hornet's nest down there because, as you know, I think that Commissioner Meyer said it correctly. There are already suspects, so to have the city down there directing traffic, you know, is really not a problem. We just know that there's going to be some upset people, so there's going to be an awful lot of silver tongue describing some things out to them, making sure that they understand why we're there and what we're doing, and that, you know, we want to make sure that the green market moves on. So the answer is yes, with a tremendous amount of caution on logistics and also our political posturing.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I ask quickly, while we're on the subject?
Yes, sir.
If we do have to take over in a bridge capacity while we're identifying another group, which I hope doesn't happen, but if staff does have to take over, I think this is pertinent, but I heard through the grapevine that maybe it was a member of the commission or staff went there in person to try to just speak with vendors after the initial meeting, and they were like run out of town? Is that the case? Okay.
Yeah, I tried to, we had something printed up, Jim did, and it was very nice, but I don't know what happened with these ladies. I wasn't able to tell them what they wanted to hear because of the sunshine law. But I did say what that piece of paper says, that this is a city and our city, and we're going to change and have a new person come in, the city. They didn't like that, so I don't know what it is, if it was his girlfriends or what, I don't know.
So are we interested in having it set to be effective as of, so that it would be technically 90 days, or to your point, Commissioner McDonald, we just need to get it out? I wasn't aware of the
I'm not inclined
legal.
to change my motion at this point.
Okay.
I mean, it's no disrespect, but it's, I'm inclined to terminate pursuant to exactly what the agreement says.
And the legal liability, if any, with the insurance situation, the timing is important for that?
To me, it is, because
Okay.
if they, you know, we haven't been able to get an insurance policy from them, and if they don't have one, and, you know, I don't know how that affects us, plus, so that's one
Okay.
of the big issues that concerns me.
And,
All right,
and
then I'll
also, on the topic of insurance, know that if the Recreation Department decides to go ahead and take the program over, that we would be, for the moment, we would, in order for us to being able to get liability from each vendor would probably be very challenging at this point. So it would be something that we would actually put up under our umbrella as a staff-driven project in order to be able to have those vendors the way we would run any recreation program.
Okay, I'll keep my second as is then.
Okay, and Mr. Mortel, so in section 2, with regard to the non-exclusive use agreement with the Stuart Green Market, everything is okay, the 60 days, as proposed in this resolution.
First of all, the commission, let's be very clear. What we're doing tonight is not pointing the finger or saying anything about anyone. This is not declaring a breach in any way. What this says is that either party, for any reason, upon 60 days' notice, can terminate. So we're not saying it, we're not making any accusations at all. This is simply a business decision the city's making at this time to terminate without accusations at all.
Right.
And I would like to add that all the attendees down there, the leases, whatever you call them, 90% of them were so nice to me. It was just these two that just was out loud and saying you're going to take it away from us and all that. But the people down there are wonderful. I go down there almost every Sunday.
Can Commissioner McDonald, before you vote, I believe it would be relevant for this motion that perhaps we have staff on standby to contact the vendors in the motion, to warn them with something in writing that says we have all intentions to
Is that-
keeping the green market going.
I don't think that needs to be in, I don't think that needs to be in the motion. I think the motion is I don't think we should muddy the waters of the motion to terminate the agreement. What I do think is that staff, with our direction, staff can talk to the vendors. They can let them know that they can let them know that we're doing an RFP. We're not, staff knows that our goal is not to shut down the market. They can do an information sheet and let them know that we're putting it out for bid, and if need be, the city will run it. So I don't think we need to muddy the water of of that legal document, taking certain legal actions pursuant to a license agreement.
Non-exclusive
I agree.
license.
After we vote on both resolutions, I think staff will have gotten
They'll have direction.
sufficient direction.
Okay, thank you. With regard to Resolution 34, 2021, is there any member of the public who has a comment? Mr. Armand Pasquale?
Let me get rid of this thing. One thing, I've been to that market once or twice, and I don't know why it's called a green market. I think there's only one person there selling vegetables. I've been to other green markets, and the majority are selling vegetables and other stuff. This market down here is nothing but a glorified flea market. You either are going to have a green market that sells the majority of green stuff, or you're going to have another market that's competing with all of the other merchants in downtown. This market down here does nothing but bring a lot of people in here who end up in the bars, restaurants, because that's the only thing that's open on Sunday. Most of the other merchants are closed. Competition that they don't need. They're already struggling. Now you're going to bring in more. You have brought in more. The vendors that are selling vegetables have left and gone elsewhere for whatever reason. Now, either rename this a green market that used to be, or get in more people selling vegetables and other goods that'll go along with it, not hard retail merchandise. That's what's confusing to people. I can go down here to the B&A flea market on US 1. I can get more fruits and vegetables down there than I ever could over here. What's the problem? You guys are saying one thing and doing something else. It's about time you got your act together. Get these people straightened out. Now I hear they're in trouble with the government about taxes. They've probably been stealing money from that too. How come you, as a city, haven't been watching this? Something's wrong. You guys keep putting out rules, but you don't follow them up. And as far as building, too much of it. Way too much. You are destroying this city like you are telling people this is a green market, and it is not. Period.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Ms. McBride?
Helen McBride from Flamingo Avenue. As you know, I've spoken against the green market, but I also come down. They do sell flowers and dips. There are homemade products. I'm trying to think, I'm going to say, she's not Cuban, but, she has the fried fish. She cooks it right there in that. She had a restaurant over in US 1. I'm going to commend you. I think, this group that's been running it, I've said it before, and they always had left a bad feeling in my mouth, or however you want to say it. I commend you, yes, let's do like 60 days. And then, but let the, like, thank you, Becky, for going down and talking to the vendors. You know, even when I would come down, remember, because I did talk to the city manager for a couple of days, maybe it's the same too, boy. But they took me on and they took the wrong person on. I'm not quiet like Becky. Let them know that it's going to stay. The merchants want it. The merchants want this. And I'm glad that someone from Stuart Main Street is willing to take over. But if we have that little 30 or 60 days, and Jim and his group of wonderful, wonderful employees, I can't say enough about the rec department, are willing to step in, that's wonderful. So, yeah, do what you want to, do what you're saying you're going to do. We'll get through this, like we always do in Stuart. We always get through it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments on Zoom? Oh, one more person, Ms. Rudge.
Yes. I just, asking 90 days rather than 60, it just shows a little bit of concern, just a little cushion. I don't understand why we couldn't, it doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the extra, making it 90. It makes you guys look a little bit better. So I don't know what the rush is. I don't understand that. Why can't we just do it in 90 days? What is the big rush? And I would love to see what the letter was you were handing out. Is there a way we can get a copy of that?
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, patience is a virtue, and we can assume a virtue if we don't have it. We can at least assume it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to add one more thing that really concerns me. I want him to be collecting as less money as possible on these Sundays, every Sunday that he collects. So I'd much rather have it done in 60 days.
Thank you. No other comments? City Manager, do you have any comments?
No, ma'am.
Oh. One comment on Zoom? If you're on Zoom, you're invited to comment on item number 5, Stuart Green Market.
Good evening. My name is Patricia, and I'm not, you can hear me.
You're going in and out.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you consistently. Your voice is going in and out. Can you try it again, please?
Sorry, I correct that. I am at the market. I am there with my son every day, and I have for 5. My son lives in Port for over 15 years. I was assured the gentleman at all you vendors.
We're not able to understand you.
Could we have it emailed?
Can she call a cell phone? We put on speakerphone next to the microphone? I mean,
All right, if you get,
Well, hold on. We're going to give you instructions on how to reach us by phone.
okay.
Who was giving instructions? Mr. City Manager or
Ma'am.
Mr. Paul?
Ma'am, can I ask, are you on a telephone or on a computer? Okay.
She's listening for the instructions.
It was clear as a bell to me.
There are no instructions.
What is the phone number to call in, Mr. Paul?
No, no.
Please go to the Zoom instructions and try to reach us again by telephone. We'll give you 30 more seconds.
While we're waiting, this might be an opportunity to talk about Zoom commenting. And if there's a time period you guys want to expire that opportunity. I know every other government, I think Indian Town might still be doing it, but all the other governments have stopped doing it that I know of.
Yeah, I agree.
my thought is I think we can succeed in the technology working, and I really wanted to hear what she was saying. It sounded to me like she was a vendor, but I couldn't make it out.
Do we know why we've been having a problem? Because the last couple of meetings, we've had this problem. I think since we went to that new system, it seems like we had a problem with some of the comments. I just don't believe it's that, but.
Right, well, they're disparate systems, so they're not together.
Right.
A common issue is probably the way Zoom works is trying to clean up your audio to make everyone sound nice and pretty. It probably picks up the meeting audio, which is her talking, since we're streaming her audio, and cancels it out.
It's doubling, yeah.
Yeah, it's trying to keep the noise of her microphone down, which is just a loop, which is why when she stops talking, you can hear the tail end of it.
So we need to ask people to turn their volume down?
Either that or headphones in, or maybe call in on a device that you're not listening to, but it's a little bit difficult because most of these people are on their phones, and that's kind of the whole reason for it. It's kind of a conflict.
We'll run some tests this week and when we're offline and try it out, but we do have a motion and a
Okay,
second.
Mr. Paul, did anyone call in with any comment?
I do not see her rejoining the phone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Miss Brinkley, Miss Gwendolyn.
My name is Gwendolyn Hall Brinkley, and I just came up to say, I've heard a lot, the finger pointing, why it took you guys so long to see the problem with this vendor. My point is that now you know the problem, and we're just asking that you fix the problem. It doesn't matter to me now how long it took for you to catch up with this. It's just that you know that there's an issue. So the people are more than likely just expecting you to fix the issue. So I want you to know that I applaud you for recognizing the issue. If it took you 5 years, 20 years, you now know what the problem is. So just do like Nike, do it, fix it.
Thank you, Ms. Hall Brinkley. You
Words
can
to live by.
send a form into the city clerk so we can have your comment.
Madam Mayor, Patricia did join back again with her hand raised if you want to give her one more.
Yes, sir.
Ask her to turn her volume down.
It's our speakers that are,
Continue to comment, please, Ms. Patricia.
Okay. I don't know if I'm able to fix the issue. I judge one gentleman shaking his head that I have been successful.
We can't hear that.
Sorry, we still are having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
If you
Can
just
someone
put it on
call
a
me?
regular phone
And
line,
is it possible for someone to call me and I can use my phone to answer it?
She could send us an email.
what is your phone number, ma'am?
944-803-2223.
We can't hear that
would all the members of the public
954.
please disregard that?
Public record.
954-802.
803.
What did you hear, Paul?
I heard for the phone number, I heard 954-803-2223. That's what I heard.
Is that correct, Miss Patricia?
I couldn't hear the gentleman very well. So I'm going to repeat it one
Mayor,
more
you're going to
time.
have to repeat the number because Paul's not on a microphone.
954-803.
Correct. Yes.
2233.
No. 2233.
2238.
No, I'm sorry. 222.
We're losing
Three.
the meeting. We're losing the
2223.
Yes.
Thank you.
And can we have your social security number?
Sorry, is that something that you can, Mr. Kralski is getting her online.
Okay. Maybe you can hear me now?
Yes.
Beautiful. I thank you for your patience tonight. I thank you that you value my comments as a vendor. I thank
Please
you
give
for the
us your
good job you
name
do for the city.
your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Patricia Selensky. I'm a resident of Port St. Lucie. My son is a vendor at the Stuart Green Market, and I've worked with him every Sunday for 5 years.
Oh, she's a
My son is a Stuart resident for 15 years.
He says it massage. Yeah, very good.
Okay.
I want to tell you that I appreciate the gentleman who said that you want to be careful not to make the vendors suffer. We appreciate that very much. The Green Market is a community institution in the city of Stuart. And I disagree with the gentleman who stood up a moment ago and made derogatory comments about our market, because I see hundreds of people pass by us every week who are having a wonderful time. It was stated a while ago in the meeting that Martin County is a great place to do life, work, and business. And I feel that the Stuart Green Market is one of the institutions that represents that standard. I do also want to say that the management at the Green Market has been very kind to us. I don't know all the things that are going on behind the scenes, but I will tell you that the rumors are flying at the Stuart Green Market, and yes, the vendors are scared because we don't know what's going to happen. And another comment that was made earlier in the meeting was that the city wanted to help small 1 to 2 person businesses grow. Many of the vendors at the Stuart Green Market are in that category, as is my son. And he does a service to the community, and the community appreciates it. Not only that, he has customers that drive in from other counties so that they can receive his services, which I think is an asset to the city of Stuart, because then after they attend the Green Market, many times these people will go and have lunch or dinner at one of the establishments at this main street in Stuart. I hope that you will continue to preserve the integrity of the Stuart Green Market, and because the vendors really want to serve the people of the city of Stuart. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, ma'am. Miss, do you need any other identifying information?
No, I'm
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have resolution number 34-2021. What is, Mary,
Call the
it's some
question.
money, so we'll call the roll.
Okay, Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Mr. Martell,
He's already read the resolution title for 37-2021. This item would be to authorize staff to put an RFP out for a new vendor.
okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think
So
you're
your,
gonna.
so your other options that was outlined there in this item was one, you could direct the city, take it over and run it ourselves, or another is you could direct license with a known 501 entity, if that's what you so choose. Or the third option, of course, is the RFP.
I feel like we've had enough problems historically with the green market, and starting from a clean slate would be beneficial for the city, and knowing what is out there. And I don't logically, see any other way to do it unless we solicit proposals and evaluate them properly.
Well, how does the time frame work so that we don't have a gap and we'll be able to, we'll close within 60 days and
Well,
give
this
it that
RFP
12?
has TBD all over it, so I assume we would need to help direct the timeline, or is that just
No.
staff's going to fill that in?
If you guys approve the RFP, it will go out this week.
Okay.
The RFP is written. It's just a matter of putting the dates on it and getting it out there.
It's, well, it seems a little boilerplate to me. The only,
They all are.
I know they all are.
You want it as vague as you can to do it, but if you, as a board, do have specific limitations or requests, we can add that, and that'd be great for discussion right now.
Well, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest, I think it sounds to me like there's differing opinion on this board as to whether or not we even issue the RFP, so maybe we have that discussion first, and then if we so choose to do the RFP, then we can add any asks in there. That would be my suggestion. I'm in favor of issuing an RFP. I know that the Stuart Main Street is a great organization, and it makes a lot of sense to me that they would run it, and they're a known quantity, and I think it jives with their mission. However, I understand that there are other local organizations in this space already or aligned enough in this space that are interested, and I feel like it's bad governance for us to just, put our head in the sand and choose one without seeing what else is out there. So I'm in favor of an RFP, even though the Stuart Main Street does make sense. I agree with you, Commissioner Bruner, but I don't want to miss an opportunity.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I think that Stuart Main Street fits in as well. I think it's Mike. I also am fine with an RFP. I'm a little torn on it because I think that from a timing perspective, but also from, I think, a known entity. So I kind of want to hear, everybody's thoughts too before I give my final thoughts, so.
Can I say something? Mr. Martell, in this proposed RFP, I heard what Mr. Armand Pasquale said, and I also heard what the vendor person said, but there's something written here in this RFP that kind of concerns me. The vision for the public market is to showcase arts and craft, education, entertainment, and food products. If we're still going to call it the green market, I don't see anything here about green or agricultural products.
We don't
So if we're
own
gonna
the name
just
Green
keep-
Market, so
we're
we
gonna
can't
call
call
it
it
just
that. But you can make it whatever you want. The thing about it is this, it includes arts and crafts because we're not going to exclude them.
Right.
As you guys negotiate a contract, assuming fast forward 3 weeks from now, you're negotiating with the person that won the RFP. As a board, in that contract, you're allowed to say no more than 20% of this can be non-food items, or you can also negotiate it that if they're farmers or true food items that are homegrown or that are organic or whatever, you mandate that they get a lower rate for rent or whatever it might be. But we were unaware of a green market anywhere in the country that prohibited
Right.
anything other than vegetables to be sold.
Right, well, yeah, but this didn't include vegetables, that's all I'm saying.
Well, it doesn't include,
A lot of other things.
I mean, let's add the other things, so I'm happy to, I don't know. I didn't, those aren't my words, I didn't actually write it.
Right, that's what
So,
I'm saying.
right, but I'm saying,
I'm content with the language that's in the RFP now. I believe it should be general, and we should be,
Yeah.
it should be a process where we put feelers out and let those apply, and we review them. We have a committee of our staff review them, and then we review them in a transparent way to know what's out there. I encourage Main Street to apply, and I encourage others to, submit their proposals as well. But I believe it's our job to look at the proposals and start from a clean slate.
I just know that there's some language problem that's not, there's a lot of missing gaps in the way this is. And if this is what we're going to use, I'd suggest that the city attorney look at it again. Item 1.1, the overview section, for firms and individuals to provide, and then it doesn't say what, and then a new sentence starts. All I'm saying that if we're going to rely on this, we need to have it as a document that is reliable, or if we need to work on it, if we need to instruct staff, clean it up and let's use it. But it just needs to be something that is able to be relied on as a document that's going to instruct other people to send something to us.
I don't, in fact, I see here in the vision, it says, the market shall feature fresh produce to the community, encourage and will promote the agricultural industry.
This is in the overview section. I'm saying that
Yeah, I mean, it's broad, but it needs to be broad. If we want to have only, quite honestly, I think if we limit it too much and we say only produce, agriculture, there won't be a green market because the majority of the vendors, I'm not sure why there isn't more farms bringing produce in. But I'm gonna guess if they had customers, or they're there, they would be at the whatever, the market, green market, whatever we call it, whatever it's called. But it does give priority to that, and then it's has a broad stroke as far as the other. I think that Vice Mayor Matheson is correct that the broad stroke approach is what we need, and that way we can hear all the different options that are available out there from anybody that were to put in an RFP versus is getting something that is so stringent it's not going to work.
We
Is
can
that a motion?
refine everything to a license agreement.
Yes, we don't have a motion yet on 37-2021 because the city manager was explaining to us our different steps, whether or not we still need to do this, and we are going to.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 37, 2021
Second.
with the following, with the following discussion edits.
right.
30 days, or how long do you want to put the RFP out for?
Well, we have 60 days before the current license is terminated. So when's the earliest this RFP could be issued? Tomorrow with edits?
No, it'll probably be a couple days. Staff doesn't normally bring you guys RFP languages. We normally just go out in the RFP and bring you guys the results.
Right.
So our procurement person would know all the timelines and to be able to put it out. So I don't know if there's a specific amount of time that it's required to be out on Demand Star and published or not, but.
That's kind of where I was going earlier with the timeline. 60 days was going to go up pretty quick. It's going to need a couple days to issue the RFP, a couple days for back and forth questions. There could be Florida state statute regarding timelines that we have to make sure, and I don't know anything about the RFP process from that standpoint. So I would say, Commissioner Matheson, to your point, I don't know. I mean,
Then
maybe we don't issue those
should be
dates.
clean and simple, and we approve the resolution, and
Yeah, the dates, I
issue
think the
the
staff can
RFP.
fill in as soon as possible, we can say, and staff can do it with whatever's.
With all due speed.
Yeah.
My note would be, I'm not clear on the language in section 2 in the scope of work or statement of work. 2.5, organization status. It says profit or not for profit. And then it says the following entities are eligible to apply. It seems maybe like that might be a little arbitrarily restrictive. Only agricultural businesses, cooperatives, producer networks, producer associations, nonprofits, public benefit corporations, economic development corporations, food councils, or regional Stuart market authorities. I mean, what about just
Individual.
just a business,
No, that would be for profit.
Right, but I don't know whether profit or not for profit is a header, or it's just not clear to me. Because I would like this to be as wide as possible. I mean,
Well, when you have a corporation in the state of Florida, it's either a for-profit or it's a not-for-profit. So
I guess, I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
but it says profit or not-for-profit in capital letters. And then I would imagine like maybe a colon, but then it says the following entities are eligible to apply. That to me is an exhaustive list. And there might be a for-profit corporation that is not an agricultural business, or
Yeah, and it should,
that's about it.
I see what you're saying.
should go
I get
back
it
and
now.
include profit and for.
So, I mean, maybe we just say,
not for profit or profit.
do we need to, do we care? Do we want to?
So what
Whittle it
happened
down?
was, when we started pursuing this, one of my concerns was that I didn't want to violate the FERDAP grant. So I started Googling farmers markets and FERDAP and DEP and public use and all that stuff, and I came across the Farm Bill. And in the Farm Bill in 2019, there was a grant process that gave away $11 million to farmers markets throughout the country. So I clicked on who would be eligible, and that was the list, and I cut and pasted it. So you guys can delete whatever you want. I don't really care. I just thought since the federal government was giving those people $11 million, I would include it to leave it as broad as possible so that we could possibly apply for farm bill grant money in the future for whoever ended up being in the green market. It doesn't matter that, I mean, that was the only reason for it. So we could take it out completely and just say specifically whatever you guys want, private or public. I just figured if we're going to go down the path, we might as well have it open for people that might actually qualify for the grant money.
That's a good point.
We put both in there to,
Yes.
to make it wide open, but I will tell you, the negotiation during the licensing agreement is going to be a lot different for a profit than it is for a nonprofit.
Yes.
I mean, right now, the nonprofit, right, they're getting our garbage cans and everything pretty much gratis.
I'm okay with, putting the proposal out, but I think it should be a nonprofit and the trustworthy, the person, we don't know who they are, what they do. We've got a lady here, if you want to hear from her, that has all that we're looking for. And I understand that you want, to have some different people come in and speak. But I just don't think it's necessary.
Well, should we limit it to, maybe we should, Mr. Mortello makes up a good point about potential future funding. And of course, the Farm Bill in 2019, Farm Bills are, who knows when they arrive. It's every 5 years, 10 years, 7
maybe
years.
It won't come again, but it was crazy.
I'm
But,
sure they have plenty of that money left.
yeah, no, let me tell you.
Next 10 years.
But that makes sense, maybe we do just limit it to this list. I agree with you. I think generally I would be more supportive of a nonprofit. Again, I don't want to limit it, but who's to say? I mean, we might have a dynamite proposal from somebody completely out of left field. I don't want to lose that. So I don't know. Maybe we just leave this.
You made a motion. We want to
Okay, and then
I seconded it.
the only other thing I would want to add is that we do require that, and this is important, if we're going to have any food items there, especially fresh produce, there is a national program, a grant program that it's called various names, Fresh Access Bucks, or basically it's a program where a farmer's market applies so that they can receive SNAP benefits. And on top of that, it doubles the purchasing power. It's all grant funded. So somebody can come in with their SNAP benefits to help access locally grown food that's usually more expensive. They use their SNAP benefits and then they get 2 times the purchasing power. And I want to make sure that whoever is applying for this, that's going to be part of their proposal.
Okay. There's a motion on item number 37
So-
2021.
Stand by. So you want me to edit the document to require the person applying to be able to do SNAP benefits, because that's going to severely restrict who's going to apply.
Right, can we, Commissioner?
I don't know enough information about.
Can we make that as that would be a request that they, because I'm concerned that we could come back and not get any,
Why? Because somebody's going to use like a food stamp card or
no,
something
because of
to
there might
pay
be.
for their
it
food?
might be- I don't know how much effort it is for someone because it's not going to be the promoter that's going to be accepting, it's going to be that vendor, that farm, and that's accepting the money, and or the SNAP card.
There's a lot of different ways that it works.
And I don't know much about
yeah.
it, so I'm just envisioning that it could be a problem, it could be the vendor problem issue, but maybe that they would promote and encourage vendors to take
EBT or whatever.
the SNAP card.
Okay, then that'll just be my own private criteria, I guess, for judging. Okay.
Well, by the way, Commissioner Meyer, I
think it's a good
I
idea.
also think that it should be criteria that you would consider as you discuss it. But in addition, whoever or whatever actually gets chosen under the RFP, their proposal, it's likely, is going to then be directed by this board to the city manager to negotiate terms, because, you guys, let's say somebody says, we'll do it for, and we want to pay $100,000 a month. And you guys might want to say, okay, we'll take that, but we want X, Y, and Z. And I'm using an outrageous number because I don't want it to
Right.
be used as an example.
Okay, as long as we
But
get
like
multiple
you guys
bites
will get
at the
another bite
apple.
at the apple as it relates to the final term. This is more of a, hey, this is what we're looking for. Everybody bring in your proposals, best one can be chosen, and then the
And then we can
contract can
negotiate.
be
That's what I
addressed.
wasn't clear on.
Under the evaluation criteria for the selection committee, we could add in there that SNAP benefits will be a criteria.
I just want to make sure it was in there, and I didn't know that we would have a chance to continue to negotiate. So, okay, my motion stands.
I second Mike's.
Motion and a second. Is there any comment from the public on this motion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. The next item is a quasi judicial item, annexation of city-owned property at Haney Creek. Ordinance number 245220-21. Mr. Mortel, do you need to read that?
This is ordinance 2452-2021, an ordinance of the City of Stuart, Florida, annexing, allocating a future land use of conservation, and allocating a zoning category of public for 4 city-owned properties adjacent to Haney Creek and Northwest Baker Road, and which are subject to a Florida Communities Trust grant award agreement and being more fully described in Exhibits A1, A2, A3, and A4 attached hereto, providing directions to the city clerk, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you, sir. Since the last meeting, do any of the commissioners have any ex parte communications to disclose?
None. And here, goodbye.
None, and I'm here with an open mind.
I have none, and I'm here with an open mind.
I've spoken with staff, and I'm here with an open mind.
I
Thank
have
you.
none, and I'm here with an open mind.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask, has anything been changed since?
The only thing that's happened with this application, it was sent out to the various reviewing agencies. We had some comments back. Everybody raised no objection. There was a slight amendment to the ordinance proposed by DEO. We have incorporated that into the ordinance.
Thank you, staff, and thank you, Commissioner Bruno. Mr. Mortel, do we need to swear in anybody if we need to at this time? This is
We-
second reading.
I don't think there's any
This is the
changes.
city.
If you guys want to
No
hear
change?
testimony or discuss it, we were just waiting for the state to send back the authority.
I'll move approval, Madam Mayor.
I'll second. I've read the changes and have no objection.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any member of the public who has any comments on the annexation item and the motion? Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Thank you. Yes. Item number 7, 4 Winds at St. Lucie LLC rezoning ordinance number 2480-2021. Do we need to read this in full?
This is ordinance number 2460-2021, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, rezoning from R1 Single Family to R2 Duplex on the city's official zoning map for property totaling .75 acres, owned by 245 St. Lucie LLC and 257 Four Winds LLC, located on the northeast corner of St. Lucie Boulevard and southeast Four Winds Drive, being more fully described in Exhibit A attached, declaring the project to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, providing directions to the city clerk, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, providing for acceptance by the applicant, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any ex parte communications since the last meeting?
None, and I'm here with an open mind.
I have none, I'm here with an open mind.
I've spoken to some residents and staff since last meeting. I'm here with an open mind.
I have none, and I'm here with an open mind.
I wanted to
Staff
ask
and
Mr.
residents here with an open mind.
Thank you. Please hold.
I'm sorry.
Are there any changes since the last meeting?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Tom Reed, Senior Planner for the record. There is one scrivener's error in Section 5 of the ordinance referencing a PUD that's struck through, and it just references now the rezoning ordinance.
Okay, Mr. Mortel, do we need to ask for any witnesses or anybody other than staff, given their testimony that there has been no changes other than the Section 5 in the PUD?
If you guys want presentation, we can swear the applicant and get further presentation at this time.
I'll go ahead and move approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any member of the public who has any comments on resolution?
Who was the second? Commissioner
What's
Meyer.
that, sir? The second one, Mr. Mortel and Mr. McDonald and Mr. Meyer. Ordinance number 2460-2021. Is there anybody on the Zoom, Mr. Paul? Okay. City Clerk?
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Thank you. That ends that item. Item number 8, Florida Friendly Landscaping Code of Ordinance, text amendment. Thank you for waiting, Mr. Price.
Oh, I wanted to ask, may I, Mayor?
Mr. Martell, what item is this on, Miss?
Oh, forget it.
Thank you.
7.
Item number 8, Florida Friendly Landscaping Code of Ordinance, text amendment.
This is ordinance number 2462-2021, an ordinance of the City of Stuart, Florida, amending Chapter 42, Article 2, Division 4 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Conservation in respect of standards for the provision of regulating Florida-friendly landscaping and the use of rain sensor devices on automatic sprinkler systems, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date and for other purposes. As you recall, this was the ordinance that we brought up last month that's bringing the Public Works Department into compliance as it relates to some language that the state wanted. And we also have more specific language in our LDRs, but this was just to comply with the code so that we could finish it by March 31st, so as to remain in
Move for approval.
compliance.
Second.
Mr. McDonald moved for approval, seconded by Mr. Meyer. Is there any comment from the public on item number 8? Is there any other discussion from the commission?
I think this is a great move, great step forward. We need to do it for water conservation, so good job.
Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Thank you. I have officially missed my wedding anniversary.
I was going to say
dinner.
happy anniversary.
Oh. Happy anniversary, Mayor.
Is there any motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion adjourned.
Why'd you have to go
Adjourned.
and get married on such a long meeting day?
That's good.